Hi guys, today we are doing grade 12 maths paper 1 and we are doing the November 2025 paper. So question 1 begins with a nice easy question: x plus 5, x minus 2 equals 0. We have to solve for x, so we know that then x plus 5 is equal to 0, or x minus 2 is equal to 0, so x is equal to -5, or x is equal to 2. Next question asks 5x squared plus 2 equals -9x, correct to 2 decimal places. So as soon as we see that, we know we have to use our quadratic formula. So x is equal to -b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac. You can get this at the formula sheet on the bottom. So over 2a. So we can now put in our values once we take the 9x across. So 5x squared plus 9x plus 2 is equal to 0. We can put our -9 plus or minus. Make sure you use brackets just in case, especially when squaring. And then it'll be 9 squared minus 4. A is 5 and C is 2. All over 2a, 2 times 5. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a way, so you can just put this in your calculator as you see it, and you can obviously put in a plus and a minus for the two answers. But I'd like to show you, if you have the white calculator or the silver calculator, I want to show you a nice way to avoid making a mistake. Because if you enter the numbers into the quadratic formula incorrectly, this will make it that you will still get the right answer. So if your marker doesn't notice that, okay, let me just go back. If your marker doesn't notice that you've put them in wrong, you'll get the right answers, and then they will probably mark it correctly because they're marking hundreds of thousands of papers, so you may get lucky. So we choose number 5, which is the equation mode, and we choose then 3, which is our ax squared plus bx plus c. So we can just put in a, b, and c as we see them. And as long as we get this right, we're going to get our 4 marks. So 5 is our the number in front of the x squared. The 9 will be the number in front of the x when it goes across. It'll be plus 9. And so I'm just being very careful looking at the original to make sure. And then I get my 2 answers. Okay, S to D. So I get -2, 5, -0, 2, 6. And the other answer is S to D, -1, 5, 4. So I can put those in, and that will be great. Okay, so let's annotate. And now we can say x is equal to -0.26, or x is equal to -1, 5, 4. Okay, the next question asks, when is 8x squared greater than 2x? So I've seen people divide by x and then get 2 answers, because then you would get 4x squared greater than 2 when you divide it through, greater than 1, and you get an answer of maybe 1 and -1, which is incorrect, because you need an answer of 0 here, and I'm going to show you why. So don't divide by x. Okay, you need to take the 2x across. Okay, and what you notice is when we take a 2x out, we'll get 4x minus 1, I beg your pardon. Okay, greater than 0. And so what we notice is you get this, your critical values, which is where it changes from being negative to positive, is are 2x equals 0. I'm going to write them here. 2x equals 0 and 4x minus 4 equals 0. And so take the 1 across, and we get x is equal to 1 over 4. Right? And so there's our values here. Okay, so yeah, now what we can do is we can do a timeline, because that's going to then illustrate the values where it changes. So we've got a 0 and we've got a quarter. And that's where it changes. So what we want to do is we're going to say, well, where is this value? Where is this greater than 0? So we're going to test. So if we put in negative, right? So let's say we put in a -1 just to test. We'll get 8 minus a minus, so we'll get a positive value. So we know here is positive. So we now are assuming that if I put in a value between 0 and a quarter, I will get a value of a negative value. So let's try an eighth, right? So an eighth squared is going to be 1 over 64, and 8 over 64 will be 1 over 8, right? I would just probably put it in my calculator. I'm just doing it in my head. Hopefully I get it right. You'll let me know in the comments, I'm sure. Minus, and then 2 times an eighth will be a quarter. And a quarter is bigger than an eighth, so we get a negative, so that's great. And then when we put in 1, which will be the value bigger than a quarter, we get 8 times 1 minus 2, so we'll get again a positive value. Okay, and when we put in a quarter, we should get 0. Okay, so let's just do that, just to test. So 8 over 16. So if I put in a quarter, I'll get 1 over 16. So I'll get 8 over 16. Minus, and then 2, if I put in a quarter here, I get 2 over 4. Well, that shouldn't be a quarter squared. That's 8 over 16 is a half. Yes, and 2 over 4 is a half. Yeah, so it's a half minus a half. So that works. Okay, so we know that is correct. Guys, another way of doing it, another quicker way of doing it is that this here is a happy face graph. So it goes like that. Okay, and then you can just see, oh, that's negative and that's positive. So I have seen students just do that, and they just draw the parabola. But yeah, most of the students just like to test it, just trust their calculators. But yeah, we have then, therefore, where is it greater than 0? It's going to be where x we see is positive, so it's going to be less than 0, or x is greater than a quarter. Okay, 1.4 now. Let's see more. I don't know if we'll have to use our calculator again. So yeah, 1.4. We're running out of space here. Okay, so what we've got here is okay. So there you go. Back to black. Okay, 1.1.4. I'm going to do in blue, just so that we don't get confused of what's where. Okay, so we've got 2 to the 2x, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let, because you've got 2 to the x, 2 to the x, and 2 to the 2x, I'm going to let 2 to the x equal k. Okay, and so what I have is 2, that would then be k squared, right? Because 2 to the x times 2, right, is 2 to the x2, which is what we have there. So I can write it as, therefore, 2k squared minus 9k plus 4 is equal to 0. Okay, then I can factorize. Okay, and so I can stick this in my calculator like I did before. I think we can do it in our heads, but so we need to get 8, right? So we know we're going to have a negative and a negative, aren't we? So one of them is going to be 2k and one of them is going to be k. Now to get to 9, we're going to have to make this 4 and this 1, because then we get negative 8k minus k. Okay, so those are our equals. So then we say, now we can sub back in, well, let's just say 2k is equal to 1, or k equal to 4. And now we sub back in our 2 to the x. All right, so 2 times 2 to the x equals 1, and then 2 to the x equals 4. Divide by 2 on both sides, we get 2 to the x equals a half. So here we get x is equal to, well, that's 2, a half is 2 to the minus 1, right? So we get minus 1. And then here, 2 squared is 4, right? Because 2x is equal to 2 squared, so x is equal to 2. Okay, and next one, 1.1.5, we've got a bunch of things here. So I don't see me needing my calculator, so I'm going to get rid of this. And then that will allow me then to have a bit of space for 1.1.5, which I'm going to do over here, right? So 1.1.5. When I see this square, this is a problem child. If I square everything, it's going to go away, right? So we get, if I square this and square this, they're going to go away, right? So I'm going to get 1 over x plus 2 equals, and when I square the 1, it's still 1, and then it's x, right? So I get 1 over x. Now this is a little bit better, isn't it? Because now I can just take the 2 across and then square. So let me do that. So 1 over x equals 1 over x minus 2. Square both sides. I get 1 over x. And when I square this, we can FOIL it out on the side if we want to, just so that you can do it in your head. But for those of you who want to know what's actually happening, when I FOIL, it'll be 1 over x times 1 over x, which is 1 over x squared, right? And then 1 over x times negative 2 is negative 2 over x, right? And then negative 2 over x, right? Again. And then negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. Okay, and so we get 1 over 2 equals 1 over x squared minus, okay, if you minus these two from each other, you'll get minus 4 over x, right? And then the 4 plus 4. Okay, now the best thing here, I think, is to get everything so that we don't have x squareds. So we can times everything by, I would times it by maybe 2x squared, because then this 2 will go away as well. So this, if I times by 2x squared, I will get x squared equals, and then this I will get 2. The 4 over x, if I times, will then become 8x, and then the 4 times 2x squared will be 8x squared. Right? Okay, now we can get everything on the same side. Probably easiest if I do get everything to the right hand side. So I'll have 7x squared minus 8x plus 2. Okay, now 7 and 2, let's see. We should get 2 answers there. Let me just make sure that I've done this correctly, because it's not looking like I will get, we'll get negative and negative, and we'll, so I've made a sign error here. Let me just try and find. There we go. If everyone is anyone shouting at their screen going, why did you write 2 instead of x? Okay, that makes more sense now. Now we can times. So when we times, and we're not going to times by 2x anymore. We're just going to times by x squared, aren't we? Okay, so I'm going to get rid of all this actually. Okay, so we times by x squared, and we'll get x equals 1 minus 2x. Well, there's 4 of them, right? So minus 4x. And then when the 9 plus 9, that was plus 4, so that'll be plus 4x squared. Okay, and so we say 0 equals 4x squared minus 5x plus 1. Okay, that's better. That's better. 4x minus 1, x minus 1, that will work. Okay, so now we're going to get x is equal to a quarter. I'm skipping a step here, and x is equal to 1. But we know they're not going to both work, are they? So, because of the roots. So 1 over the square root of 1 is 1. So if we try 1, we get 1 on the right-hand side. And if we put 1 over here, we'll get 1 over 1 plus 3. That doesn't work. 1 plus 3, the square root of 1 plus 3, that does not work. Because we put a 1 there, we get 3. Square root of 3 is not 1. Okay, now let's try a quarter. So we put a not equal to. So the square root of a quarter is going to be a half, right? So then a half here. So 1 over half will give us 2. Okay, so we'll get 2 on the right-hand side. We put in a quarter, and then here we'll get a quarter. The square root of a quarter we said is a half, and a half plus 2 is this will be a square root of a half, yes, and then a half, 1 over a half. So 1 over, oh, there we go, yes, this will be 1 over a quarter. This will be 1 over a quarter over here, 1 over a quarter, which is 2, which is 4, and then square root of 4 is 2. And so 2, and then 2 plus 2, when you square root that, it'll be 2. So it does work for a quarter. So that is correct. All right, and now we can go on to the next one, which is you're going to see some writing because this was sent to me by a student who asked me to do this. I'm going through these questions. So x is the sum of 2 and y. Okay, so that means that if I add 2 plus y, I'm going to get x. So I'm quite confident that the student got this one right because he said that, so that's good. And then we know that 5 times the product of x and y is 6 more than the square. Okay, so 5 multiplied by xy, so 5 is 6 more than the square of x. So then x squared, if this 5xy is 6 more than x squared, then we need to plus the 6 to make them equal, right? Does that make sense? So if 5xy is, if 5xy was equal to x squared, then we wouldn't have to do anything. But they're saying is 6 more. So what we're saying is 5xy is going to be 6 more than x squared. So if we want them to be equal, we need to give 6 to the x squared. All right. Let's see how 6 more than the square of x. I'm just want to scroll a little bit up. Yes, he did nicely there. He got 5xy equals 6 plus x squared. So I'm happy with that too. Okay, well done to the student. I'm not going to mention the name just in case he wants to remain anonymous. And so now I can substitute in because I know what x is. Okay, so we can say then, where should we put that? We'll write it here. So 5, and we're going to replace our y with x. We're going to replace our x with 2 plus y. So 5 times 2 plus y is 2 plus y times y, right? So we're doing this one. So let me just do this in blue just to demonstrate. So this is that, and so we're going to replace that with a 2 plus y. We replace it over there as well. Okay, oh gosh, these are starting to disappear. I'm hoping this will still work. So xy equals Oh, it's gone all bluey now. 2 plus y, y, and then we're going to make it equal to 2 plus y squared plus 6. So, okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to clear that. I'm going to use the edge. I'm going to use this. Okay, that still works. So I'm using the drawing function on the thing. Okay, here we go. That still works. Okay, so we're going to put a 2 plus y squared plus 6. Okay, so we put that over there. Okay, and that over there as 2 plus y. Okay, let me actually just keep the 6 in black so that we don't confuse matters. Okay, so, oh no, well, okay. Sorry, guys. Okay, plus 6. Okay, so we're just going to times it. So this is basically 5y times 2, right, which is 10y. And then 5y times y is 5y squared. Okay, and then when we times this, 2 plus y is just y plus 2, right? So that'll be y squared plus 4y. I understand you may not be able to see this, and I apologize because I'm writing it quite small, but technology sometimes does this. So we can take everything to the right-hand side. So 5y squared minus y squared gives you 4y squared. 10y minus 4y, when that goes across, gives us 6y. And then 4 plus 6 is 10, which when we take it across becomes minus 10. And we can then divide by 2. So we get 2y squared minus 3y minus 5 is equal to 0. And now we can solve, right? So we get, how do we get 3 from here? We can say 2y and then y. Well, if we times the 2y by 1 and then we put a 5 there, 5y and 2y makes 3y. Now it's more negative, so we put a negative 5 and it'll be there, right? And so we'll get y is equal to minus 1, or 2y is equal to 5, which means y is equal to 5 over 2. Okay, now when we sub that in to our x value here, we get x is equal to 2 minus, we'll get x is equal to 1. And then when we sub the 5 over 2, we get, or x is equal to, so for the 1, we get the pairs are x is equal to negative 1 and 1. And for the other one, when we put in 5 over 2, we get 2 plus 5 over 2, which will be 9 over 2, won't it? So then x for that one is 9 over 2. And we are all done. So I will see you in the next one for question 2. Thanks very much for you know what to do. Comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. See you in the next one.